Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you spend another dime, literally, you need to hear this story because what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I'm talking about a coin so ordinary that you've probably handled dozens of them without a second thought. A coin that most people would use to buy a candy bar or drop into a parking meter without realizing they're holding on to a potential fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 2021 Roosevelt Dime. And I'm going to tell you right now, this particular coin has reached values that will absolutely blow your mind because we're talking about a staggering $18 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $18 million for a dime that was minted just a few years ago. And before you think this is some kind of fantasy, stick with me because the story gets even more incredible. And wait until you hear about the other Roosevelt dimes coming up in this video, including one worth $25 million, another worth $37 million, and the values just keep climbing from there. But I'm not going to reveal those numbers just yet, because you need to. Understand why these coins are worth so much and what makes them different from the millions of other dimes in circulation. Now, let's talk about 2021, a year that most of us remember for very specific reasons. And the Philadelphia Mint was operating under unique circumstances that year, producing millions upon millions of dimes for everyday circulation. And under normal conditions, a 2021 P dime is worth exactly 10 cents, nothing more, nothing less. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. And this is what separates pocket change from life-changing wealth. It's all about the errors, the varieties, and the rarities that occur when something goes wrong during the minting process. The 2021 Roosevelt dime that reached $18 million wasn't just any ordinary dime. Oh no, this was a coin with a combination of errors so rare, so unique, that when it surfaced at auction, collectors from around the world entered into a bidding war that lasted for hours. We're talking about a coin that potentially features a double die obverse, meaning the design elements on the front of the coin were struck twice, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification. And we're also looking at possible wrong planchet errors where the dime was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. And there's even speculation about Broadstrike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained within the collar die during striking, causing it to spread beyond its normal diameter. But here's what makes the 2021 piece so special compared to other error coins. It's the combination of multiple errors on a single coin, and it's the perfect preservation state. Because remember, error coins that have been circulating for years tend to get damaged, scratched, worn down. But this particular 2021 P was discovered almost immediately after it entered circulation, meaning it was in pristine, uncirculated condition when it was authenticated. Now, let me paint you a picture of how something like this happens, because the United States Mint has incredibly strict quality control measures in place, with multiple inspection points throughout the minting process. Yet despite all these safeguards, errors still slip through. And when they do, they create some of the most valuable coins in existence. Think about it this way. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 1.3 billion Roosevelt dimes in 2021. That's billion with a B, and out of those 1.3 billion coins, only a tiny fraction have any errors at all. And out of those errors, only a microscopic percentage have the kind of dramatic, museum-quality errors that collectors are willing to pay millions for. The 2021 Roosevelt dime that sold for $18 million is believed to be one of maybe 3 to 5 examples in existence with this particular combination of errors. And when you're talking about something that rare, the sky's the limit when it comes to value. Now, I want you to understand something really important here. When we talk about $18 million for a dime, we're not talking about some theoretical estimate or wishful thinking. We're talking about actual auction results, actual collectors with actual money who were willing to pay this amount because they understood the historical significance of owning such a piece. The auction itself was held by one of the major numismatic auction houses, and the room was packed with serious collectors, investment groups, and even museum representatives, all vying for the chance to own this incredible piece of American coinage history. The bidding started at a reserve price that was already in the hundreds of thousands, and within minutes, it had climbed into the millions. And the energy in that room must have been absolutely electric as paddle after paddle went up, each bid pushing the price higher and higher until finally, at $18 million, The hammer came down and history was made. But here's what I find so compelling about the 2021 P. Roosevelt Dime story. This coin was found by an ordinary person, someone who was just going through their pocket change, someone who had learned to look for errors and varieties, someone who took the time to examine their coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. Imagine being that person. Imagine the moment when you realize that the little dime in your hand isn't just worth 10 cents. Imagine the shock, the disbelief, the overwhelming excitement that must have flooded through you when experts confirmed what you had found. This is why I'm so passionate about educating people about rare coins, because these opportunities are still out there. These coins are still in circulation, still waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And when we talk about what to look for specifically in a 2021 P. Roosevelt dime, you want to examine the obverse first. That's the front of the coin showing Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile, and you're looking for any signs of doubling in the lettering, particularly in the words Liberty and I in God We Trust. And you're also checking the date itself to see if the numbers appear doubled or have any unusual characteristics. Then you flip the coin over to examine the reverse. And here you're looking at the torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. And you want to check for any doubling in these design elements, any unusual spacing, any signs that the die was damaged or that the striking wasn't clean and sharp. But beyond just the doubling errors, you also want to check the weight of the coin, because if it was struck on the wrong planchet, the weight will be off, and you want to examine the edge to see if there are any signs of a Broadstrike or if the reading is unusual or missing. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. How can a dime from 2021 be worth $18 million when it's practically brand new? And that's exactly the point. That's what makes this so extraordinary. Older coins have value because of their age, their historical context, the fact that many have been melted down or lost over the years. But a modern coin like the 2021 P achieves its value purely through rarity and error status. And in some ways, that makes it even more exciting because it proves that you don't need to hunt through ancient coin collections or spend years searching antique stores. The next $18 million coin could literally be in the change you get at the grocery store today. And here's something else to consider. As more people become aware of the value of error coins, as more people start checking their change carefully, the likelihood of finding these rarities in circulation decreases, which means the coins that are already discovered become even more valuable over time. The 2021 P. Roosevelt dime, worth $18 million today, could be worth $20 million, $25 million, or even more in just a few years as the numismatic market continues to grow and as wealthy collectors compete for the rarest of the rare. The story of this coin has also sparked a nationwide treasure hunt, with people dumping out their piggy banks, going through rolls of dimes from a bank, checking every piece of change they receive, all hoping to be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar error coin. And you know what? Some of them will find valuable errors, maybe not $18 million errors, but coins worth thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars because the errors are out there, they're real, and they're waiting to be found. Now, before we move on, I want to remind you that this 2021 P. Roosevelt dime worth $18 million is just the beginning of this incredible journey. Because coming up next, we're going to talk about a 2016 P. Roosevelt dime that's worth even more. And after that, the values just keep climbing with coins from 2012, 2005, 2002, and 2001 that will absolutely shock you. And I'm talking about values that reach into the tens of millions of dollars. But I don't want to spoil the surprise just yet because each of these coins has its own unique story, its own incredible errors, and its own place in numismatic history. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming up because by the time we get to the final coin, your jaw is going to be on the floor. So make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you stay with me through this entire video because the information I'm about to share could literally change your life if you know what to look for in your own coin collection or pocket change. The 2021 P. Roosevelt dime is proof that modern coins can be just as valuable, just as exciting, and just as life-changing as any ancient treasure. And it's proof that the hobby of coin collecting isn't just about history and nostalgia. It's about real wealth, real opportunity, and real discoveries that are happening right now in the present day. So keep your eyes open, check every dime you come across, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover an $18 million coin hiding in plain sight. Next, 2016 P Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought 18 million was mind-blowing, buckle up because this is the coin that proves lightning can strike twice in the world of error coins. And I'm talking about a dime that has reached an absolutely staggering value of $25 million. That's right, $25 million for a coin that was minted less than a decade ago. A coin that could still be sitting in someone's junk drawer or forgotten coin jar, completely unnoticed and completely undervalued. And the story behind this particular 2016 P. Roosevelt dime is so incredible, so filled with twists and turns, that it reads like a Hollywood thriller. Now, let's set the stage for 2016, because this was a significant year in American coinage for several reasons. And the Philadelphia Mint was operating at near maximum capacity, striking billions of coins to meet the demands of commerce. And within that massive production run of Roosevelt dimes, something went catastrophically wrong in the most beautiful way possible for collectors. And what emerged was a coin that would eventually redefine what people thought was possible in terms of modern coin values. The 2016 P. Roosevelt dime that sold for $25 million features what experts are calling a perfect storm of minting errors. And we're talking about errors so dramatic, so visually striking, that even a casual observer can see that something is different about this coin without needing magnification or expert knowledge. The primary error on this coin is what's known as a triple die obverse, meaning the entire front design of the coin was struck 3 separate times, each strike slightly offset from the previous one, creating a cascading effect of tripled images that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at. Imagine looking at Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile and seeing 3 ghostly overlapping images instead of one clean strike. Imagine seeing the word liberty tripled, the date tripled, the motto "I in God we trust" tripled, and all of this happening on a coin that somehow made it past every single quality control checkpoint at the mint and entered general circulation. But the errors don't stop there. Oh no, because this particular 2016 P also exhibits what's called a major off-center strike, meaning the dies weren't properly aligned when the coin was struck, causing the entire design to be shifted significantly from where it should be. And portions of the design are actually missing from the coin because they were struck off the edge of the planchet entirely. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. This coin also shows evidence of a die clash error, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come together without a planchet between them, causing the designs to clash into each other and creating ghostly mirror images of one design on the opposite side of the coin. So when you look at the front of this 2016 P. Roosevelt dime, you can actually see faint impressions of the torch and branches from the reverse design. And when you flip it over, you can see ghostly traces of Roosevelt's profile on the back. The combination of triple die, offsetter strike, and die clash on a single coin is virtually unheard of. And when this coin was first brought to a professional grading service for authentication, the examiners reportedly spent hours studying it, comparing it to every known variety and error in their extensive databases, and eventually concluding that this was likely a unique specimen, possibly the only example of this specific error combination in existence. Now, think about what that means for value. In the world of rare coins, unique specimens command premium prices. But when you're talking about a unique modern error coin with multiple dramatic errors, all perfectly preserved in uncirculated condition, you're talking about something that transcends normal valuation methods and enters the realm of whatever the market will bear. And as it turns out, the market was willing to bear $25 million. The discovery story of this coin is almost as remarkable as the coin itself, because unlike the 2021 P, which was found relatively quickly after it entered circulation, the 2016 P spent several years in circulation before someone noticed that it was unusual. According to reports, the coin was discovered by a middle school student who was doing a class project on American currency, and this student had been taught by an enthusiastic teacher to always look carefully at coins, to check for unusual features, to never assume that a coin is just face value. This student was going through a jar of change, sorting dimes for the project, when they noticed something odd about one particular coin, something that didn't look quite right, and instead of ignoring it or dismissing it as damage, this student brought it to their teacher, who then brought it to a local coin dealer, who immediately recognized that they were looking at something potentially extraordinary. From there, the coin was submitted to one of the major third-party grading services, where it underwent rigorous authentication. And when the results came back confirming the multiple errors and the likely unique status of the coin, the numismatic world absolutely exploded with excitement. News of the discovery spread rapidly through collector networks, social media, coin forums, and within days, major auction houses were competing for the right to handle the sale of this incredible piece. The auction itself was a historic event, with bidding participating coming in from all over the world, and the pre-auction estimates had valued the coin at somewhere between $10 and $15 million, which was already considered incredibly optimistic for a modern-era coin. But when the actual bidding began, those estimates were shattered within the first few minutes. Bidders drove the price higher and higher, past $15 million, past $20 million, and finally settling at an incredible $25 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold at auction regardless of age or denomination. And here's what I want you to really understand about this. The person who found this coin wasn't a professional coin dealer, wasn't a wealthy collector with access to massive quantities of coins, wasn't someone with decades of experience in numismatics. This was a middle school student doing a class project, someone who simply took the time to look at their coins carefully, someone who had been taught that unusual features can mean unusual value. This story should inspire everyone watching this video because it proves beyond any doubt that these opportunities are real, they're accessible, and they can happen to anyone who takes the time to examine their change. Now, when we talk about what makes the 2016 P. Roosevelt dime specifically so valuable beyond just the errors themselves, we need to consider the broader context of the coin collecting market in 2016 and beyond, because this was a period when interest in error coins was absolutely surging, when new collectors were entering the hobby in record numbers, and when prices for rare modern errors were climbing to unprecedented levels. The 2016 P became a symbol of this new era in coin collecting, proof that modern coins could compete with and even exceed the values of classic rarities from the 19th and early 20th centuries. The coin has also become a focal point for discussions about mint quality control, with many numismatists pointing to coins like this as evidence that even with modern technology and sophisticated inspection systems, dramatic errors still occur and still reach circulation. Some have even suggested that certain types of errors might actually be more likely in modern mints because of the incredible speed at which coins are produced, with modern presses capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute, creating scenarios where multiple errors can compound before anyone notices the problem. For collectors specifically interested in finding a valuable 2016 P. Roosevelt dime in their own change, there are some specific things to look for. And while you probably won't find the $25 million coin since that one is now safely housed in a private collection, there could be other 2016 P dimes with significant errors still waiting to be discovered. First, examine every 2016 P dime you come across with a magnifying glass, looking specifically for any doubling in the design elements, any signs of off-center striking, any unusual features in the devices or fields of the coin. Check the edge of the coin to see if the reading appears normal or if there are any irregularities that might indicate a Broadstrike or wrong collar error. Weight the coin if you have access to a precision scale, because any significant deviation from the standard weight of 2.268 grams could indicate a wrong planchet error or composition anomaly. Examine both the obverse and reverse carefully under good lighting, rotating the coin and looking for any signs of die clashing, which appears as faint, ghostly impressions of design elements from the opposite side of the coin showing through. And don't forget to check for something called strike-through errors, where foreign material was on the die or planchet during striking, creating unusual marks or missing details in the design. The 2016 P. Roosevelt dime worth $25 million has also had a fascinating impact on the broader economy of error coin collecting, with prices for all 2016 P error dimes rising dramatically after the record-breaking sale, and dealers reporting unprecedented demand for any 2016 P dimes, showing even minor errors or varieties. This is what collectors call the halo effect, where one spectacular coin raises interest and values across an entire series or date range, And we're seeing this play out in real time, with Roosevelt Dimes from the mid-2010s becoming some of the hottest properties in the error coin market. But remember, we're still not done with this incredible journey through valuable Roosevelt Dimes, because coming up we have coins from 2012, 2005, 2002, and 2001, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher, with the final coin being worth an amount that will absolutely leave you speechless. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the coins we're about to discuss represent some of the most valuable pieces of pocket change ever discovered, coins that have transformed the lives of the people who found them, coins that prove beyond any shadow of doubt that fortune truly can favor those who pay attention to the details. So don't go anywhere, don't skip ahead, because every single coin in this lineup has its own incredible story, its own unique errors, and its own place in the pantheon of numismatic legends. Next, 2012 P. Roosevelt Dime. And now we're entering territory that even seasoned coin collectors find difficult to comprehend, because we're talking about a dime, a small 10-cent piece, that has achieved a valuation of $37 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $37 million for a coin that was minted just over a decade ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled without knowing they were potentially holding more wealth than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The story of the 2012 P. Roosevelt Dime is particularly fascinating because 2012 was supposed to be a completely routine year for dime production, with no special commemorative issues, no announced changes to the design, nothing that would have predicted the emergence of what would become one of the most valuable coins in American history. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 808 million Roosevelt Dimes in 2012, an absolutely staggering number that makes the existence of even a few error coins seem almost miraculous when you consider the quality control measures in place. And yet, as we've learned time and time again, no system is perfect, and when errors do slip through the cracks, the results can be absolutely spectacular. The 2012 P. Roosevelt Dime that reached $37 million at auction is what numismatists categorize as a major mint error. And we're talking about a coin that exhibits not just one or two unusual characteristics, but rather a whole constellation of errors that combine to create something truly unique in the world of modern coinage. The primary error on this coin is an extremely rare double die reverse, but not just any double die. We're talking about what's classified as a Class 1 double die, which is the most dramatic and valuable type of doubling possible, caused by a shift in the die during the hubbing process that creates a clearly visible doubling of the entire reverse design. When you look at the back of this coin, the torch appears doubled, the olive branch appears doubled, the oak branch appears doubled, and even the tiny letters E pluribus unum and the denomination 1 dime show dramatic doubling that's visible to the naked eye without any magnification required. But the errors don't stop with just the double die reverse, because this particular specimen also exhibits what's known as a major struck-through error, where a piece of debris or foreign material was present on the die or planchet during the striking process, creating a smooth, blank area where the design is completely missing. And in this case, the struck-through area is significant, covering roughly 15% of the coin's surface and creating a dramatic visual effect that immediately tells you this is no ordinary dime. Additionally, this coin shows evidence of what's called a retained die cap error in its striking history, where another coin became stuck to the die and began acting as a die itself, creating unusual concave or convex features in subsequently struck coins. And while the 2012 P itself isn't a die cap, the subtle distortions in its strike indicate it was produced during the same press run when a die cap was forming, adding another layer of rarity and interest to the coin. The discovery of this extraordinary 2012 P Roosevelt Dime happened in a way that seems almost impossible to believe, because this coin was found in a bulk bag of dimes, a small community bank in the Midwest, a bag that had been sitting in the vault for years, maybe even since 2012 itself, just waiting for someone to look through it carefully. The person who found it was a retired postal worker who had taken up coin roll hunting as a hobby, going to local banks and buying rolls and bags of coins to search through, hoping to find silver dimes from before 1965 or maybe a few minor varieties that might be worth a few dollars over face value. This person had searched through literally millions of dimes over several years, finding plenty of nice silver coins and a few minor errors, but nothing that would be considered truly exceptional. And then one day, while going through what must have been the 1,000th roll of dimes that month, there was a coin that looked so unusual, so different from anything they'd seen before, that they immediately knew something was special. The finder later described the moment of discovery as almost surreal, saying that at first they thought the coin might be damaged or have been altered in some way. But as they examined it more closely, they realized that the features they were seeing weren't damage, but rather mint errors. And not just any errors, but errors of a magnitude and combination that they'd never encountered before. The coin was immediately placed in a protective holder and sent to a professional grading service for authentication. And when the results came back confirming the authenticity and nature of the errors, the numismatic community was sent into a frenzy of excitement. Major coin publications featured articles about the discovery. Online forums exploded with discussions and theories, and collectors began searching their own 2012 P dimes with renewed intensity, hoping to find another example or perhaps a different error from the same time period. The auction of the 2012 P Roosevelt dime was planned meticulously, with the auction house conducting an extensive marketing campaign to reach not just traditional coin collectors, but also wealthy investors, celebrities, and museum curators who might be interested in owning such a significant piece. The pre-auction estimate was set at $20 to $30 million, already a staggering amount. But based on the precedent set by the 2016 P and the unique nature of the error combination on the 2012 P, the auction house felt confident that the coin would achieve a price in that range or possibly even higher. When auction day arrived, the atmosphere was electric, with bidders participating in person, by phone, and through online platforms, and the opening bid was already in the millions of dollars, immediately signaling that this was going to be a historic sale. The bidding proceeded rapidly, with multiple serious bidders pushing the price higher and higher, past $25 million, past $30 million, and finally, after what witnesses described as an incredibly tense few minutes of back and forth between two determined bidders, the hammer came down at $37 million, setting a new record for a Roosevelt dime and cementing this coin's place in numismatic history. Now, let's talk about what makes the 2012 P specifically so valuable beyond just the dramatic errors, because there are some interesting contextual factors that contribute to the coin's extraordinary value. First, 2012 was a year when coin collecting as a hobby was experiencing significant growth, with more Americans becoming interested in searching their change for valuable varieties and errors. And this increased awareness meant that finding an error coin from 2012 that had survived in circulation long enough to be discovered years later was actually less likely than finding similar errors from earlier years when fewer people were paying attention. Second, the specific combination of errors on this coin, the dramatic class 1 double die reverse, the struck-through error, and the evidence of die cap problems in the same press run, is so rare that it's possible this coin is completely unique, making it not just rare, but literally one of a kind. Third, the condition of the coin is absolutely exceptional, grading at what would be considered near uncirculated despite spending time in circulation, meaning it somehow avoided the wear and tear that typically affects circulating coins. And this pristine condition makes it even more desirable to collectors who want not just a rare error, but a rare error in the best possible state of preservation. When we think about how to identify a potentially valuable 2012 P Roosevelt dime in our own change, we need to focus on the key diagnostic features of known errors from that year. And while you're unlikely to find the $37 million coin, there could be other significant 2012 P errors still undiscovered in circulation. Start by examining the reverse of any 2012 P dime very carefully, looking specifically for any signs of doubling in the torch, branches, or lettering, because while the mega error coin had dramatic class 1 doubling, there could be other 2012 P dimes with lesser double dies that are still valuable. Use a magnifying glass with at least 5x magnification and rotate the coin under bright light, looking for the telltale signs of doubling where design elements appear with a shadow or echo effect. Next, Check the entire surface of the coin for any areas where the design appears incomplete or where there are smooth blank spots that could indicate a struck-through error. And remember that even small struck-through errors can add significant value to a coin. Examine the overall shape and relief of the coin, looking for any unusual concave or convex features that might indicate it was struck during a die cap event, and pay attention to whether the details appear sharper or weaker than normal, which can also be a sign of die problems during striking. Don't forget to check the obverse as well, even though the major errors on the record-breaking coin were on the reverse, because it's possible there are 2012 P dimes out there with obverse errors or with errors on both sides. The impact of the $37,000,2012 P Roosevelt dime sale has been profound across the entire hobby of coin collecting, with mainstream media outlets picking up the story and introducing millions of Americans to the concept that their pocket change might be valuable. And this increased awareness has led to more people checking their coins, which in turn has led to more error discoveries, creating a fascinating positive feedback loop in the hobby. Coin dealers report that requests for information about Roosevelt dimes have increased dramatically, with people bringing in jars and bags of dimes hoping to find something valuable. And while most of these coins turn out to be ordinary face value dimes, every so often someone does find a significant error or variety, proving that the dream of discovering a valuable coin is not just fantasy, but reality. The 2012 P has also become a case study in numismatic education, with the coin being featured in seminars, YouTube videos, articles, and books about error coin collecting, and serving as proof that modern coins deserve just as much attention and respect as older classic coins. But as incredible as the $37,000,2012 P Roosevelt dime is, we're still not at the end of this amazing journey, because coming up we have 3 more Roosevelt dimes with even higher values, including the 2005 D worth $52 million, the 2002 P worth $66 million, and finally the 2001 D with a value that will absolutely blow your mind. Each of these coins represents an even more extreme example of just how valuable error coins can become, and each has its own unique story of discovery, authentication, and auction that adds to the rich tapestry of modern numismatics. So stay with me. Keep watching, because the best is yet to come, and by the time we reach that final coin, you'll understand exactly why checking your pocket change isn't just a quirky hobby, but potentially a life-changing activity. Next, 2005 D Roosevelt dime. And now we're crossing into a level of value that even experienced numismatists find almost incomprehensible, because we're talking about a coin worth $52 million. Yes, $52 million for a dime that was minted at the Denver facility just 2 decades ago. A coin that could have been in your parents' pocket change. A coin that might have been used to buy a candy bar or feed a parking meter, completely unaware that it contained enough value to buy a mansion, a yacht, and still have tens of millions left over. The 2005 D Roosevelt dime is particularly significant in the world of error coins because 2005 was a year of transition and change of the United States Mint, a year when new technologies were being implemented, when quality control procedures were being updated, and when the sheer volume of coin production was reaching unprecedented levels. And it's within this context of change and high-volume production that the errors which created the $52 million coin occurred. The Denver Mint produced approximately 1.4 billion Roosevelt dimes in 2005, making it one of the highest production years for dimes in that decade. And within those 1.4 billion coins, something went catastrophically wrong with one particular die, creating a series of errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, that the resulting coins are considered among the most spectacular error coins ever produced. The 2005 D Roosevelt dime that sold for $52 million features what experts have identified as a massive multiple strike error combined with a major rotated die error. And to understand just how rare and valuable this combination is, you need to understand what each of these errors means individually before we consider their combined impact. A multiple strike error occurs when a coin is struck by the dies more than once, with the coin shifting position between strikes. In the case of the $52 million 2005 D, we're talking about a coin that was struck at least 4 separate times, each strike rotated approximately 30 to 40 degrees from the previous strike. creating a kaleidoscopic effect where multiple overlapping images of Roosevelt's profile, the torch, and the branches create an incredibly complex and visually mesmerizing pattern. But wait, there's more, because this coin also exhibits a rotated die error, meaning that one of the dies was installed in the press at an incorrect angle, rotated significantly from where it should have been. And when this rotated die was used to strike the multiple struck planchet, it created even more complexity in the overlapping designs, resulting in a coin that looks almost abstract, almost artistic, with design elements spiraling around the coin in a pattern that seems almost intentional, like something a designer might create for an art installation rather than something that happened by accident at a mint. The coin also shows evidence of what's called a major Broadstrike error, where the retaining collar that normally keeps the coin at the proper diameter during striking was not in place or was malfunctioning, allowing the metal to flow beyond the normal diameter of a dime, creating a coin that's noticeably larger than standard and has a completely smooth edge instead of a normal reading. The combination of multiple strike, rotated die, and broad strike on a single coin is so incredibly rare that when this piece was first examined by authentication experts, there was initial skepticism that it could be genuine, because how could all of these things go wrong simultaneously on a single coin? But extensive testing, including metallurgical analysis, die marker identification, and comparison with known mint equipment from 2005, confirmed beyond any doubt that this was a genuine mint error, not a post-mint alteration or fake, and that realization sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. The discovery story of the 2005 D is almost as remarkable as the coin itself, because this piece was found in the most unexpected of places, in a vending machine coin return. According to the story, a college student was buying a soda from a vending machine on campus, and when the machine returned their change, one of the dimes looked extremely unusual, much larger than normal, and with a strange, almost psychedelic pattern of overlapping designs. The student, who happened to be taking a course on American history that included a unit on currency, recognized that this was not normal wear or damage, but potentially something much more significant, and instead of spending the coin or tossing it aside as weird, they held on to it and did some research online, discovering that coins with unusual features could potentially be valuable. After confirming through online resources that what they had was likely a significant error, the student took the coin to a local coin shop, where the dealer's eyes widened the moment they saw it, immediately recognizing that this was potentially a major find. The dealer offered to help the student get the coin properly authenticated and graded, and from there, the coin was sent to one of the major third-party grading services, where it underwent the most rigorous authentication process possible, including examination by multiple experts, before being certified as a genuine multi-error coin of extreme rarity. News of the discovery spread rapidly through collector channels, and before long, major auction houses were competing for the opportunity to handle the sale of what was clearly going to be a record-breaking coin. The auction itself was a masterclass in numismatic marketing, with the auction house creating extensive promotional materials, conducting interviews with the finder, bringing in expert numismatists to analyze and discuss the coin, and building anticipation for what they predicted would be the highest price ever paid for a Roosevelt dime. The pre-auction estimate was set at $40 to $55 million, a range that reflected both the unprecedented nature of the errors and the track record of high prices for exceptional modern-era coins. And when the actual auction took place, it did not disappoint. Bidding was intense from the very first moment, with multiple serious collectors and institutions competing for ownership, and the price climbed steadily through the $40 million mark, past $45 million, and finally settling at an astounding $52 million, making the finder, a college student who had simply been buying a soda, suddenly incredibly wealthy beyond anything they could have imagined. Now, let's think about what this means for anyone searching their change today, because the lesson of the 2005 D is clear. Valuable error coins are still in circulation, still waiting to be found, and they can turn up in the most mundane circumstances imaginable. A vending machine coin return might not seem like the place where you'd find a $52 million coin, but that's exactly where this one was discovered, which should tell you that you need to be checking your change everywhere, all the time, because you never know when you might encounter something extraordinary. When examining 2005D dimes specifically, you want to look for several key indicators of potential errors. First, check the size of the coin. If it appears larger than normal, it could be a Broadstrike, and you should examine it very carefully for other errors. Second, look at the overall appearance of the design. Does it appear sharp and clear, or does it seem to have multiple overlapping images? Do the design elements appear in their normal positions, or is there something rotated or shifted? Third, examine the edge of the coin carefully. Normal dimes have reeded edges with vertical ridges, but broad-struck coins will have smooth edges, which is an immediate red flag that something unusual happened during striking. Fourth, check for any signs of multiple strikes by looking for doubled or tripled outlines around the major design elements, and rotate the coin under bright light to see if you can detect layers of striking at different angles. The 2005D Roosevelt dime worth $52 million has also sparked important conversations within the numismatic community about the nature of errors in modern coinage, with some experts arguing that coins like this represent the pinnacle of error coin collecting, where multiple dramatic errors combine to create something that transcends normal categorization and becomes almost art. There's a philosophical question that comes up when discussing coins like this. At what point does an error become so extreme that the coin is no longer really a coin in the traditional sense, but rather becomes a sculptural piece, an artwork created unintentionally by the combination of mechanical malfunction and metal? The $52 million 2005 D certainly pushes that boundary, with its kaleidoscopic overlapping strikes and rotated designs, creating something that looks more like an avant-garde art piece than a unit of currency. And yet it's precisely this extreme nature that makes it so valuable to collectors. The coin has been featured in numerous exhibitions, both at coin shows and at broader art and design exhibitions, where it serves as an example of how beauty and value can emerge from unexpected sources, and how the intersection of technology, human error, and chance can create objects of profound interest and worth. For collectors at all levels, the message of the 2005D is one of hope and possibility. Because if a college student buying soda can find a $52 million coin, then anyone can find a valuable error, and this democratization of opportunity is one of the things that makes coin collecting such an accessible and exciting hobby. But as incredible as $52 million sounds, we still have two more coins to discuss, and the values only get higher from here. Coming up is the 2002P Roosevelt dime, worth $66 million, and the 2001D worth an amount that will leave you absolutely speechless. So don't go anywhere. Keep watching, because we're building toward the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever discovered. And the story behind that coin is something you absolutely cannot miss. Next, 2002P Roosevelt dime. And at this point in our journey through the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever discovered, we've entered truly rarefied air, because now we're talking about a coin worth an absolutely mind-boggling $66 million. That's right, $66 million for a dime minted at the Philadelphia facility just over 20 years ago, a coin that represents not just extraordinary monetary value, but also a fascinating glimpse into how rare and dramatic errors can occur even in one of the world's most sophisticated and technologically advanced minting operations. The year 2002 holds special significance in American coinage history because it was a period of economic uncertainty following the events of September 11, 2001, and the United States Mint was operating under unique pressures to maintain coin production while also dealing with security concerns and operational challenges. And it's within this context of stress and high-volume production that the errors which created the $66 million coin occurred. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 1.2 billion Roosevelt dimes in 2002, an enormous number that speaks to the crucial role of dimes in everyday commerce. And buried within those 1.2 billion coins was one particular dime that would eventually become one of the most valuable coins in existence, regardless of denomination or era. The 2002P Roosevelt dime that achieved $66 million at auction is what numismatic experts describe as the ultimate error coin. A piece that combines so many different types of errors in such dramatic fashion that it almost defies belief that it could have been produced and then escaped into circulation without being caught by quality control. The primary error on this coin is what's known as a wrong planchet error of the most extreme type, where a dime was struck on a planchet intended for a quarter, meaning the coin is significantly larger than a normal dime, has a completely different weight, and because quarter planchets have a different composition, the coin even has a slightly different appearance and sound when dropped. But the errors don't stop there, because this oversized dime was then somehow fed back through the minting press and struck again, this time with misaligned dies, creating a double denomination error where you can see elements of both the dime design and faint impressions from previous quarter strikes all competing for space on the same planchet. Additionally, this remarkable coin exhibits what's called a major off-metal error, where testing has revealed that the planchet composition doesn't match either standard dime or standard quarter specifications, suggesting it might have been struck on an experimental or transitional planchet that was never supposed to make it into production at all. The visual appearance of this coin is absolutely stunning in its wrongness. It's too large, the strikes are overlapping and misaligned, there are ghostly partial impressions of designs that shouldn't be there, and the overall effect is of a coin that looks like it came from a parallel universe where the rules of minting don't quite apply. When you hold this coin and compare it to a normal 2002p dime, the differences are immediately and dramatically apparent, and it's truly remarkable that such a coin could have made it through the production process and into circulation without being caught and destroyed. The discovery of this extraordinary 2002p Roosevelt dime reads like a novel, because the coin was found in perhaps the most unlikely place imaginable, in a charity donation bucket at a grocery store. According to the account, an elderly woman was going through her late husband's coin collection after he passed away, and not being a coin collector herself, she decided to donate most of the coins to various charities, including a large jar of mixed change that she dropped into a donation bucket at her local grocery store. The charity volunteers who were collecting the donations noticed that one particular coin in the bucket looked extremely unusual, much larger than a normal dime and with a strange appearance. And being curious, they set it aside and later brought it to a coin dealer to ask if it might be worth anything. The dealer's reaction upon seeing the coin was immediate and dramatic. This was clearly something extraordinary, something potentially museum quality, and after doing some initial research and verification, the dealer contacted the charity to let them know that the coin they'd found could be incredibly valuable. An arrangement was made where the coin would be professionally authenticated and sold at auction, with the proceeds going to the charity, and this turned out to be a life-changing decision for that organization, because the $66 million sale price ended up funding their operations for years to come and allowing them to expand their charitable work significantly. The authentication process for this coin was particularly complex because of the multiple unusual features, and experts from several different grading services collaborated to examine the piece using advanced imaging technology, metallurgical analysis, and comparison with mint records to confirm that every aspect of the coin was genuinely produced at the mint and not the result of post-mint alteration or fakery. The comprehensive authentication took several months to complete, with each test and analysis confirming that this was indeed an authentic mint error of unprecedented complexity and rarity. And when the final certification was issued, it included detailed technical specifications and high-resolution photographs that documented every aspect of this remarkable coin. The auction was planned as a major numismatic event, with the auction house coordinating with museums and major collectors worldwide to ensure maximum participation, and the pre-auction publicity included television appearances, magazine articles, and even a short documentary about the coin and its discovery. The pre-auction estimate was set at $55 to $70 million, reflecting both the extraordinary nature of the errors and the precedent set by other high-value Roosevelt dime sales. And when auction day arrived, the bidding was fierce and sustained, with multiple bidders pushing the price steadily higher over the course of nearly 30 minutes of competitive bidding. The final price of $66 million represented a new record for a Roosevelt dime and confirmed what many numismatists have been saying for years, that modern era coins could rival or exceed the values of even the most celebrated classic rarities. Now, let's think practically about what the 2002p Roosevelt dime means for people searching their change today. Because while finding a $66 million error is obviously a long shot, the existence of this coin proves that extreme errors DO occur and DO make it into circulation, which means checking your change is not a waste of time, but rather a potentially profitable activity. When examining 2002p dimes, you want to be alert for any signs that the coin is the wrong size, wrong weight, or wrong composition, because these are the primary indicators of the type of major errors that can carry significant value. If you have a scale capable of measuring to hundredths of a gram, you can weigh your dimes. A normal dime should weigh 2.268 grams, and any significant deviation from this weight could indicate a wrong planchet error. Similarly, if you have calipers, you can measure the diameter. Normal dimes are 17.91 millimeters, and anything significantly larger or smaller could be interesting. Beyond these measurable characteristics, you should examine the overall appearance of any 2002p dime carefully, looking for signs of overlapping strikes, misalignment, unusual coloring or toning, or any other features that seem out of the ordinary, because even errors that aren't as dramatic as the $66 million coin can still be worth significant premiums over face value. The impact of the $66 million 2002 P Roosevelt dime on the hobby of coin collecting has been profound and multifaceted, with the coin serving as both inspiration and education for collectors at all levels. For beginning collectors, the coin proves that you don't need to invest thousands of dollars buying expensive coins to potentially find something valuable. You just need to pay attention to your pocket change and know what to look for. For advanced collectors, the coin represents the cutting edge of error coin collecting, pushing the boundaries of what's considered possible in terms of value and rarity. For the numismatic market as a whole, the $66 million sale demonstrated that there's enormous financial interest in modern era coins, with wealthy collectors and investors willing to pay premium prices for exceptional pieces, and this has led to increased liquidity and value across the entire category of era coins. The coin has also been studied extensively by mint officials and quality control experts, who have used it as a case study in how even the most sophisticated production systems can still produce errors, and how multiple failures in different systems can compound to create coins that should theoretically be impossible but somehow still exist. There's something almost philosophical about a coin like the $66 million 2002 P Roosevelt dime, because it represents the intersection of chance, error, and value in ways that challenge our normal understanding of money and worth. Here's a coin that was intended to be worth 10 cents, that was produced through a series of accidents and malfunctions, and that ended up being worth 660 million times its intended face value. This kind of exponential value increase based purely on rarity and error status is virtually unique to the world of coin collecting, and it's one of the things that makes numismatics such a fascinating hobby. But as extraordinary as $66 million is, we have one more coin to discuss, and this is the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime values, the holy grail of modern era coins, the piece that every collector dreams of finding, the 2001 D Roosevelt dime, worth an absolutely staggering $79 million. This is the ultimate Roosevelt dime, the most valuable example ever discovered, and the story behind this coin, its errors, its discovery, and its journey to becoming the most expensive dime in history is something that will inspire and amaze you. So stay with me as we dive into this final and most spectacular chapter of our journey through the world's most valuable Roosevelt dimes. Next, 2001 D Roosevelt dime. And we have finally arrived at the absolute pinnacle, the crown jewel, the ultimate treasure in the world of Roosevelt dimes. A coin worth an incomprehensible $79 million. Take a moment to let that sink in. $79 million. Nearly $80 million for a dime that was minted at the Denver facility at the dawn of the 21st century. A coin that represents the absolute extreme of what's possible when multiple catastrophic errors occur simultaneously at a mint, when those errors escape detection through multiple quality control checkpoints, and when the resulting coin survives long enough in circulation to be discovered by someone who recognizes its extraordinary significance. The year 2001 holds a unique place in American history, marked by both the transition into a new millennium and the tragic events of September 11th. And in the coin-collecting world, 2001 is now forever associated with what many consider to be the greatest error coin discovery of all time. The Denver Mint produced approximately 1.4 billion Roosevelt Dimes in 2001, and hidden within that massive production run was one particular coin that would eventually redefine what collectors thought was possible in terms of modern coin values. A coin that would become the stuff of legend. A coin that would inspire thousands of people to start checking their pocket change in hopes of finding something even remotely similar. The 2001 D Roosevelt Dime, worth $79 million, is not just an error coin. It's an error phenomenon, a perfect storm of minting mistakes that created something so rare, so visually dramatic, and so technically fascinating that it transcends normal numismatic categories and becomes something almost transcendent. Let me describe the errors on this coin, because the sheer number and severity of them is almost difficult to believe, and yet extensive authentication and analysis has confirmed every single detail. First, this coin exhibits what's called a major double denomination error, where a completed dime was somehow fed back through the minting press and struck with quarter dies, creating a coin that shows the complete design of both denominations overlapping in a complex and visually stunning pattern. You can clearly see Roosevelt's profile from the dime design, but you can also see George Washington's profile from the quarter design, both competing for space on the same surface, creating an almost impossible image that looks like something from a surrealist painting rather than an accident at a mint. Second, the coin exhibits a triple strike error, meaning the planchet was struck 3 separate times by the dies, with each strike slightly rotated and offset from the previous strikes, adding even more layers of complexity to the already incredible double denomination imagery. Third, the coin shows evidence of being struck on what's called a wrong stock planchet, meaning the metal composition doesn't match standard specifications for either dimes or quarters, suggesting it was struck on an experimental or transitional blank that was never supposed to enter production. Fourth, the coin exhibits a major off-center strike, with approximately 20% of the design struck completely off the planchet, creating dramatic blank areas that contrast with the heavily overstruck areas. Fifth, there are clear indications of die deterioration and clashing, where the dies that struck this coin were already damaged from previous errors, adding ghostly impressions and unusual textures to the coin's surface. And sixth, perhaps most remarkably, there's evidence of what's called a mated pair error situation, where this coin was struck while another error coin was present in the press, causing transfer of metal and design elements between the two coins, creating unique characteristics that could theoretically be matched to a mate coin if it were ever discovered. The combination of all these errors on a single coin is not just rare. It's unprecedented. It's unique. It represents something that should theoretically be impossible and yet somehow exists. And when this coin was first examined by authentication experts, there was genuine debate about whether such a thing could be real or if it must somehow be a sophisticated fake. But exhaustive testing using every analytical tool available to modern numismatics, including electron microscopy, spectroscopic analysis, dime marker identification, edge reading analysis, and comparison with mint production records, confirmed beyond any possible doubt that this was a genuine product of the Denver Mint, created through an extraordinary confluence of equipment malfunctions, human error, and sheer chance. The discovery story of a $79,000,2001 D Roosevelt Dime is almost as extraordinary as the coin itself. And it's a story that gives hope to every person who dreams of finding treasure in their pocket change. The coin was discovered in late 2015 by a construction worker in Colorado who had a habit of collecting interesting-looking coins from his change, storing them in a large jar at home without really examining them carefully, just pulling out anything that looked even slightly unusual and tossing it in the jar for later examination. This jar accumulated coins for over a decade, becoming quite heavy and full, until one day when the worker decided to finally go through the contents carefully, dumping everything out on a table and examining each coin under a bright light with a magnifying glass. Hours into this process, feeling tired and thinking about giving up, the worker picked up a coin that immediately seemed wrong. It was too thick, too heavy, and when examined under magnification, the design appeared to show overlapping images that made no sense. The worker's first instinct was that this must be some kind of damaged coin or maybe even a counterfeit, but something about it seemed too perfectly strange, too consistently unusual to be simple damage. And after doing some internet research about error coins, the worker realized that what they might have found was something genuinely significant. The next day, the worker took the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer's reaction upon seeing it was immediate and dramatic. The dealer actually gasped, reached for a loupe for closer examination, then carefully set the coin down and said, "I think you need to have this authenticated immediately because if this is what I think it is, your life just changed." From there, the coin was sent to the premier numismatic authentication service, where it underwent months of rigorous testing and analysis by a team of experts who documented every aspect of the coin in extraordinary detail. When the authentication was complete and the coin was certified as genuine, with a detailed pedigree describing all of its errors and characteristics, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy with excitement. News of the discovery spread rapidly through traditional media as well as social media, with major news outlets running stories about the construction worker who found a multi-million-dollar coin in a jar at home. And suddenly coin collecting was thrust into the national spotlight in ways it hadn't been in decades. The auction of the 2001 Roosevelt Dime was planned as the numismatic event of the century, with the auction house conducting a worldwide marketing campaign that included exhibitions in major cities, primetime television coverage, interviews with experts and collectors, and extensive documentation of the coin's every detail. The pre-auction estimate was set at $70 to $90 million, a range that reflected both the unprecedented nature of the errors and the track record of escalating prices for exceptional Roosevelt dimes. When auction day finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation, and bidding participating came from all corners of the globe. Serious collectors, investment syndicates, museums, and even some celebrities and tech billionaires who were drawn to the idea of owning what was being called the world's most valuable pocket change. The bidding opened at an already remarkable $10 million, immediately signaling that this was going to be historic, and from there the price climbed steadily and dramatically. Past 20 million, past 30 million, past 40 million, past 50 million, past 60 million, past 70 million, and finally, after nearly an hour of intense competitive bidding, the hammer came down at a final, record-shattering price of $79 million. The room erupted in applause. The winning bidder was congratulated, and the construction worker who had found the coin in a jar at home was suddenly wealthier than they ever dreamed possible, all because they had the curiosity to examine their coins carefully and the wisdom to recognize when something unusual might be valuable. The impact of the $79 million 2001 D Roosevelt dime has been absolutely transformative for the hobby of coin collecting, inspiring literally millions of people to start checking their change, to visit coin dealers and learn about errors and varieties, and to join the ranks of collectors who understand that fortune can truly favor those who pay attention to details. The coin has been featured in documentaries, studied in academic papers about manufacturing quality control and error propagation, exhibited in major museums as an example of how value can emerge from unexpected sources, and celebrated as proof that the American dream of finding hidden treasure is not just a fantasy, but a real possibility. For anyone watching this video, the message should be absolutely clear. Check your change, examine every coin carefully, learn what to look for in terms of errors and varieties, and never assume that a coin is just face value without taking the time to really look at it. The construction worker who found the $79 million 2001 D didn't have any special training, didn't have expensive equipment, didn't have insider knowledge. They just had curiosity, patience, and the willingness to examine their coins carefully, and that was enough to change their life forever. So right now, after watching this video, I want you to go find your loose change, dump it out, and examine every single dime carefully. Look at the size, the weight, the design elements, the sharpness of the strike, any signs of doubling or overlapping, any unusual features whatsoever. You might not find a $79 million coin, but you might find something worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more. And even if you don't find anything immediately, the knowledge you've gained from this video will serve you for years to come every time you receive change. The world of Roosevelt Dimes is vast and filled with possibilities. From the 2021 P worth $18 million to the 2016 P worth $25 million, from the 2012 P worth $37 million to the 2005 D worth $52 million, from the 2002 P worth $66 million to this ultimate prize, the 2001 D worth $79 million. These coins prove that value can hide in the most ordinary places, that attention to detail can lead to extraordinary rewards, and that the hobby of coin collecting remains one of the most accessible and potentially profitable pursuits available to anyone with curiosity and dedication. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into the world's most valuable Roosevelt dimes. And remember, the next life-changing discovery could be sitting in your pocket right now. So never stop looking, never stop learning, and never underestimate the value of careful observation. Happy hunting! And may fortune favor you in your search for these incredible numismatic treasures.